Sam pushed open the cabin door, the ancient wood groaning under the weight of forgotten years. The air inside smelled of dust and damp wood, mingling with the faint scent of something metallic she couldn't quite place. She set her bag down in the entryway, the floorboards creaking beneath her feet. The windows were grimy, filtering what little light managed to break through the heavy fog outside. "Well, this is cozy," she muttered, her voice swallowed by the silence. She ran a hand along the rough-hewn wall, her fingers catching on a splinter. Cabin had an aura about it, something more than age. It felt alive, watching, waiting. Sam shook off the unease and went to work unpacking. A week alone was exactly what she needed. No cell service, no distractions, just her and her thoughts. She lit a fire in the stone hearth, the flickering flames casting long shadows that danced across the room. It wasn't until night fell that she noticed the whispers. At first, she thought it was the wind. It rustled through the trees outside, rising and falling like a distant conversation. But as she lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, she realized the sound was inside the cabin. Low, almost a faint to hear, but unmistakable words spoken just beyond comprehension. Sam sat up, her pulse quickening. "Hello?" Her voice wavered, barely more than a whisper. The sound stopped. Silence pressed down on her, heavy and suffocating. She grabbed the flashlight from her bedside table and swept its beam across the room. Nothing. Just shadows and the crackling fire. She told herself it was her imagination and forced herself to sleep. But the next morning, the strangeness continued. Her coffee cup had moved from the counter to the dining table while she slept. The front door, which she was certain she had locked, hung slightly ajar. By the third day, Sam could no longer ignore it. She sat at the kitchen table, staring at her laptop, trying to write, but the words refused to come. The whispers had returned, louder now, accompanied by fleeting shadows in the corners of her vision. She caught glimpses of figures standing in the doorway, or peering through the windows always gone the moment she turned to look. "Pull it together, Sam," she muttered, but even her voice felt fragile in the thick silence. The cabin had a way of getting under her skin, dredging up memories she'd buried deep her failed relationship, the betrayal that had left her reeling, the suffocating sense of failure she carried like a weight on her chest. Cabin fed on those feelings, amplifying them until they were almost unbearable. On the fifth night, it showed her something she couldn't ignore. She was sitting by the fire when the door to the bedroom creaked open on its own. The flashlight lay within arm's reach, but she didn't need it to see what stood in the doorway, a figure she knew too well. David, her ex, stood there with the same sad eyes, the same apologetic smile he'd worn the last time she saw him. "You shouldn't have come here," he said softly, his voice blending with the crackling of the fire. "It won't let you leave." Sam's breath caught in her throat. "You're not real," she whispered. "You can't be." The figure smiled, a cruel twist of David's familiar expression. "Does it matter? Real or not, I'm here, and so are you. Trapped." She grabbed the flashlight and shined it on him, but the beam passed through empty air. The figure dissolved into smoke, swirling and twisting before vanishing into the shadows. Panic surged through her. She stumbled to the front door, fumbling with the lock. The air outside was cold, biting at her skin, but it was better than the oppressive weight inside. She ran down the path, her flashlight bouncing with each step, the trees closing in around her like a tunnel. Whispers followed her, growing louder, more insistent. She glanced back, heart hammering in her chest, and saw the cabin far closer than it should have been, its dark windows like eyes watching her. No matter how far she ran, the cabin was always there, waiting at the edge of her vision. Exhaustion overtook her, and she collapsed to her knees, gasping for breath. The forest was silent now. Even the whispers had stopped. A soft light flickered ahead, and for a moment she thought it might be Salvation Road, perhaps, or another cabin. But as she staggered toward it, she realized it was her cabin, the front door wide open, the fire crackling inside as if it had been waiting for her return. Tears stung her eyes. "Please," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Let me go." The cabin did not respond. It didn't need to. She knew the truth. It wouldn't let her leave, not until it had taken everything she had left. Sam stepped back inside, the door closing behind her with a final resonant thud. Fire's warmth wrapped around her like a lover's embrace, and the whispers began again. Soft and comforting now, promising peace if she just gave in. And in the end, she did.
Subscribe for more scary stories.